Let me get situated here. Close enough. How is everybody this evening? You'll notice that I am I'm indoors and I've got several layers on. I think fall is indeed upon us. I was thinking about doing tonight's program from the Native Plant Garden over Potawatomi, and it was a little chilly over there. The front porch here, it's was not too comfortable out there either. So I made a decision to come back in and stay up here where it's nice and toasty warm. So hope you're the same. Maybe you've got a warm beverage to keep you company as we go through this week's nature happenings. Let's see, I'm not really sure what to start with. Maybe we'll go this week. We'll start with our slideshow, and then then we'll progress. I've got some other materials I want to share with you too. So let's go ahead and get that started. Let's see, we'll do our screen share. And we'll go to, where are we? Here we are. All right. Do this to full screen. All right, is everybody seeing a windshield? And I'm only going to show up. I don't want this to be on a slideshow. I'm only going to show this for a quick second because I don't know the genus or the species, but it's just a quick little ID trick that you might find useful now or in the future. So as you can see, I was at a red light and I had a little hitchhiker on my windshield. It's right here. And quick glance tells us it's an orthopteran, which is the order that our grasshoppers, katydids, and crickets belong to. But of those three groups, how do we know which one this is? Well, the big legs, you might be thinking, well, gosh, it's got to be some kind of a grasshopper, but it's actually those. Can you see the long antennae? They look like two long hairs coming off the top of this little critter. That's the clue that we're looking at a type of katydid. Now, I know it's not a true katydid. It's not the ones I played the recording of last week of the katydid. Yes, she did. No, she didn't. Yes, she did. The ones that are calling right now up in the trees. In fact, if you live near katydids right now, I can guarantee you on a night like this, they're going 80, dead, 80, dead, because they're going to be the cold temperature that's outside is really going to slow down their activity. Anyway, enough with the imitations. Long antennae tells us it's a type of katydid. We've got tree katydids, we've got bush katydids, lots of different kinds. And it's just something that'll, as you go down the journey of trying to identify what you're seeing, that can help you start to split things up. Now, if I spent some more time on this, maybe we could get a genus or a species, but again, I was at a red light. It was going to turn green soon, but I wanted to let you know that it's just a handy little trick that you might be able to use. All right, from there, let's go over to this video. Even though our summer has drawn to a close and we're into early fall, those damselflies are still at it. This was up at a pond in Davies County, and I was up there last for an afternoon. And what we have here are, and again, I'm sorry, I don't know the species, but you can see the male is the more colorful of the pair. And at the tip of his abdomen, he's got two little claspers that he holds onto the female's head. Even though they are done mating, and she's now in the egg deposition part of their relationship, she's dipping her abdomen into the water there to deposit the egg. He's still guarding his investment. He doesn't want anybody else to slip in there at the last second and possibly claim some of those eggs. So hanging on. at what was his or remained his. All right, let's move on to this. So this was a text that I received from our parks department. And it's not the clearest of photos, but it is kind of cool. And it's enough to give us a direction to go in. The text I got, it was actually from our parks administrative assistant, Casey. And she said, Pam, this little friend was outside my window. It was only a brief visit, so I could only capture this one quick photo. What is it? Well, so looking at this animal's head and this animal's antennae, we can see that they are kind of feathery. So there's no knobs on the end, so it's not a butterfly, and it's not hooked on the end like a skipper. Thread-like or feather-like antennae tell us that it's a type of moth. And then this is not, I don't know if they say this in the field guides or not, but oftentimes when you see some dots and lines as you see on the wings of this particular moth, that points us in the direction of the geometers or the inchworm moths. There's a whole bunch of these moths, and they get that name from the way their caterpillars walk, which is they kind of inch themselves along, the back arches up. The reason they do that is they have fewer prolegs than some of our other caterpillars. If you picture a big old, like say a Polyphemus caterpillar or a tobacco hornworm, some of our more prominent, more frequently seen big fat caterpillars, they have several pairs of prolegs, which are the additional like sticky pads that go down the segments of the insect beyond the 6 that will remain even into adulthood. Well, inchworms don't have those, so they have those 6 legs in the front, and then they've got a couple pairs in the back, and the animal just inches along. Well, this one, it was right on time too. This one, I've got a clearer picture here that I copied off of Wikipedia. This is called the maple spanworm. And it's pretty cool. Now, this picture doesn't really show its full effect when those wings are spread out. See how the edges are serrated here? It really does look like a dried out maple leaf. And what time of year is it? It's the time of year when the maple leaves are drying out. So it comes with its ready-made camouflage. So keep an eye, you might be lucky enough to see maple spanworm of your own. Now, when Casey texted me, besides figuring out what the moth was, I sent her a link to an article, and I wanted to mention this website to you because I get a kick out of her writing, and I learn a lot from her. There's a woman up at UW Milwaukee, the field station for the University of Wisconsin at Milwaukee, and she calls herself the Bug Lady. And I love, she writes in the third person a lot. So she's always talking about the bug lady this and the bug lady that. And she has a really just happy, sometimes, I mean, you get some good technical information, but she has a very engaging style of communicating that. You can look her up at uwm.edu/field-station, or just type in uwm.edu bug lady, and she'll come up that way too, because there's all sorts of topics. But she had written about this insect as well back in 2018 on September 25th, which was about 3 days after that September 20th. Casey texted me on the 22nd, so very close time wise. And Bug Lady describes it as exquisite. And it's one of several new bugs that the Bug Lady herself saw for the first time. Anyway, check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy her reading, and keep your eyes open for the maple spanworms appearing, hopefully, maybe by a light or a window near you. Now, you might look at this and go, oh, Otto, what have you been doing? Cleaning the drains? What is this? Well, this was actually an email that I just got this afternoon from my friend Liz, and she was having some work done at her house. And she said, all of my windows outside are full of little bits of grass. It's grass or whatever on top of the window and on the bottom. I got this picture thinking it's some type of bug, maybe a bee. Do you have any ideas? Well, I looked at this and I do have a pretty good idea. And again, this is something, it's very timely. This is the time of year. Some of us with older houses might be swapping out screens for storm windows. Some of us with newer windows might be putting the screens up and pulling the storm windows down. We might just be cleaning our windows because it's that time of year. Anyway, if you happen to notice conglomerations like this, chances are you have a type of grass carrying wasp. The grass carrying wasp, there's lots of different kinds. The genus is Isodontia, Isodontia. And this is how they build their nests. You know, some wasps, they dig a hole in the ground. These guys are actually cousins to some of those ground diggers. This is the same family as the cicada killers and the great black wasp. Those wasps that are, they build nests and then provision them with the stung and stunned paralyzed bodies of insects of various types, usually depending on the type of wasp. They tend to stick to either a family of insects or sometimes just a genus or species that they, like the cicada killer wasp, only kills cicadas to feed its young. Well, these guys, I believe they feed orthopterans to their young. It depends. What type of orthopterans depend on the species of wasp, but they're not terribly huge, so it might be, you know, smaller crickets and things like that. But whereas some wasps dig their holes in the ground or they make nests out of mud, these guys make their nests out of grass. So they carry the little strands of grass in. Here's again what it looks like when it's all built up. In fact, in Liz's case here, you can see what I'm guessing are the pupa of some of the wasps. I don't know if we can see any of the dead bodies of the insects that were fed. I don't really see any in there. But anyway, grass carrying wasps. Oh, somewhere in the slideshow, there's going to be another grass carrying wasp picture that shows it carrying its prey, but it must have gotten out of order. This picture, this was another email that I just got in this evening. It came in earlier today, but it ended up in my junk email. And it's from a gentleman that works at Newlywed Foods. And his first email, he says, we have a service that maintains the live plants in our office. We found Carlos here running around, and thanks to your article from last year, we solved their mystery of how a brown anole native to Cuba would get into our office. A person here has had pet lizards and has volunteered to take Carlos home to care for him. Thanks for your help, John Jackson. And then he wrote a little bit later, he said, too funny. I work with Joey, another herp guy. This is a guy that I'm friends with on Facebook. He actually maintains the Joey Cavateo. He maintains the Midwest Field Herping website. So they talked too about brown anoles. Laura, I know you will recognize this guy. I was kind of hoping that they were looking for a home with it, because this is, so these are the anoles that they, like this gentleman said, they are not native to the United States, but they have kind of made themselves at home in Florida and other Gulf Coast states, where there also happens to be a lot of nurseries that grow plants that are then sent up to places like Chicago and St. Charles. The female anoles, they don't make a nest for a bunch of eggs. They will bury here and there, literally only one egg per basket. It probably helps increase the likelihood of survival, because there's not so many all concentrated in one spot that might attract a predator. It also, in the case of all the eggs that are laid in plant pots, certainly increases their distribution. I was visiting my friend Peggy out in DeKalb County, and she said, "Oh, I have something to show you." She pulled out a container with, you guessed it, a little brown anole. Again, somebody had found it when it crawled out of a plant. So I'm really hoping another one of these comes my way, because I've tried 3 times and I have not succeeded 3 times in raising these things past a couple of months. Laura, when you brought yours over here, I think I kept it from June till maybe the end of July. He was doing so well until I left him out in the sun.
Oh, just an accident. A little too much sunbathing.
Yeah. Well, I figured out, because so when they're this small, and I know this thing looks big on the screen there, but they're really only maybe 2.5, 3 inches long, including the tail. They're really, really tiny. They're really, really delicate. You start off by feeding them flightless fruit flies, which the pet stores will kindly sell you for like $10, which every time I buy them, I kick myself, because I always end up with fruit flies when I leave the bananas out too long. But anyway, Peggy had hers for about 2 weeks when she showed it to me, and this one just got found. I'll stay in touch with my friend Joey to see how this one does. But again, if anybody finds one and they don't know what to do with it, I would gladly try again. With the one, Laura, that you gave me, it was feeding, it was growing, it was seeming like it was doing really well. And it occurred to me, lizards have to have UV light. And so I took the little guy and I set him outside in what I thought was a patch of sunlight that was going to get smaller because of the way the sun was moving. But just like sometimes I mix up right and left, I mixed up east and west. And instead of getting smaller, the patch of sun got bigger. And
I still trust you, Pam. I'll still trust you.
Yeah, I appreciate
we live and learn,
Well, and I did.
It was crazy.
I have been back to the plant shop where yours came from. I've gone in there twice asking about lizards, and both times they said, "Oh yeah, they come in here, but you know what? We don't pay any attention to them, and they disappear," because I'm sure they dry up right away. They are really, if they're not in an enclosed human environment, it's really hard to maintain them for very long.
Well, my cats probably would have gotten it if
any bigger.
Yeah, something more exciting than the occasional field mice that get in.
Well, they're still popping up. I think this would make an awesome WGN segment, but I need to have a lizard in order to be able to prove it. So the quest continues. So, okay, so here's the other picture. So I guess I just right at the last second there, I got the wrong picture. This is the other picture of the grass carrying wasp. And this one, rather than carrying the grass, it's carrying the prey. So sorry about that little switcheroo there, but this is something you might find. I know at my mom's house, they weren't in the windows, but they had stuffed grass in the open end of one of her fence posts, and they were, carrying on their life cycle in there. But anyway, just something to look out for. If you find a bunch of grass and you think, how the heck did it blow from the lawnmower all the way up here into my window? It probably didn't. It was probably carried there by a grass carrying wasp, the genus Isodontia. So Laura, back to you. It is mushroom season, fungus season, edible mushroom season. There's a few I was going to show you guys tonight that are in fine bloom, fine form. I should say they're not really a bloom, but I looked at this picture, Laura, and I thought, oh my goodness, is that point? No, it's not. I thought maybe you were standing in a patch of poison ivy to take this picture, but it looks like
I was so excited to see it. I wasn't checking really carefully, so I did check afterwards.
there's some Virginia creeper there and some pokeweed down there, but you're fine.
It was
but yeah, how big
ago.
Was this puffball?
Oh gosh,
like baseball, softball?
no, it is a little bit bigger than a softball. Yeah, it was pretty big.
Well, and this is like if you are hankering to eat a puffball, this is what you want to look for. Is this bright white exterior. And if you cut it open, it should continue looking that creamy white color. If you see any signs of yellow or a brownish discoloration, then it's best left to do what it's meant to do, which is to spread its billions of spores. But yeah, this one was in prime eating condition. I found I usually eat like a puffball a year, and there's all kinds of things you can do with them. I call them the tofu of the mushroom world, because the flavor they have is very, very light or delicate, and they absorb the flavors very readily of whatever you happen to be cooking with them. The most common things are onions or garlic. I like, if I'm going to put them in a pasta sauce, I like to saute them first in maybe some garlic and butter, just to give a bit of a crust to the edge, because the interior it's very soft. The other thing I've done with them, and I know a couple people that I've told have rolled their eyes and shaken their heads, but I made it like French toast. Because again, the flavor is not very discernible. So I dipped them in an egg batter and then fried it on both sides and dumped a bunch of butter and syrup on it. And it was pretty good. But this is one, a lot of people are hesitant to eat mushrooms because they're not sure which ones are edible and which ones aren't. This one, there's nothing else that looks like this. Like, you can't mix it up with anything that's, toxic or, poisonous, deadly, whatever. The puffball stands alone in its shape. And it's also pretty common too, with the rains we've had. They are still springing up. I know one year I was finding them right up until about Halloween. So keep your eyes open. If you think you're seeing a softball or a volleyball in the woods, take another look. And I should probably, mention the whole legality of collecting, but if you find them, if any state parks allow the collecting of mushrooms, technically the parks, we don't allow it, but I've always said to people that, especially with something like a puffball, that what we're seeing is only the fruiting body of the organism. The rest of them, the fungus is underneath the ground. What I found, whether we've left puffballs in place or whether we've removed them, they're usually not, they don't usually come back in the same spot anyway. They bounce up, pop up other places. So just going to leave it at that. I know King County, I know that they do not, and they do crack down on it with their forest preserve police. But again, totally legal in state parks, and don't see, don't tell in our own St. Charles parks.
I think they're so pretty too. I mean, I took that picture and this contrast with the green with what, I mean, I wasn't, I was still in the grass and it was about 3 feet away. There was a lot of underbrush and it just, yeah, I mean, it just
almost
shone out.
luminescent.
Yeah,
like
it was so beautiful. It was hard to miss. I hope it's still there. And if you're wondering where it is, I can let you know.
Well, you said you had gone to look at some beavers, right?
Yeah, I tried to check on the beavers at Delnor, but the underbrush was just so tall and thick. I'm like, I don't want ticks. I don't want those little green burr things, which I ended up getting anyways, getting this picture, so yeah, I abandoned the beavers, although I think they're still there or doing well because the creek at the little bridge is nice and high. So
okay, cool. Yeah, there's I have not been there now for probably over a month, but I was surprised at how wide, with as little rain as we got, and how wide that little creek was because of the dams that are there now.
Yeah, it's backing up. So I might go back, when the leaves fall, just to kind of see how the dams are doing.
Yeah. Well, we still have to make good on our skunk cabbage date.
Oh, that's right.
Go out and promise to all the viewers to at some point this fall get some pictures of the skunk cabbage fruit. Yeah, we always look forward to it blooming because it's a sign that spring is coming, in late February and early March. But I've never gone out to look for the fruit in the fall, and now's the time to do it. So,
well, let me know.
Maybe you'll check it out. But yeah, Laura, maybe we can try to do that this week.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, up for a hunt.
Well, let's so the puffballs are out, and so are the chickens. This is chicken of the woods. This is another pretty unmistakable mushroom. There are some other orange. Don't let the color orange, if that's all you're looking at, you need to look at more than that. The chicken of the woods, it's got this frilly edge to it, and it's generally lighter on the edges. We do have another mushroom that appears at this time of year that is, I don't think it'll kill you, but you're going to wish you were dead. It's called the jack-o'-lantern fungus. I didn't include a picture that I probably should have. But I wanted to focus on the edible ones tonight. The chicken of the woods, it's, oh gosh, I've seen it at Norris Woods. I've seen it at our Persimmon Woods over on the east side of town. This is a bracket fungus. Let's see, I'll just read you a description here. It's now I will also say it is highly sought after. There's a lot of people who love it. In fact, Ryan, who's our restoration ecologist here at the Park District, he actually likes this the best out of the fall edible mushrooms. But it's what he likes about it is the texture. He says it's really like a thinly pounded chicken breast texture. Now, with that said, some people do have a mild gastrointestinal reaction to it. So if you do want to go out foraging for chicken in the woods, just try a little bit of it first before you go on to having a whole meal out of it. So they're most commonly found on oaks. In fact, if it's growing on anything else, if you find it growing on some type of conifer, you don't want to eat it because that's going to affect what it grows on the inside, or what's on the inside of it and how that's going to affect the inside of you. There's very small pores on the underside, because this is a polypore, and it grows, as I said, a bracket or a shelf on the side of the tree. Even if you're not going out to eat stuff like this, they're very eye-catching. And as you can see, they make wonderful subjects for photographs. Now, the third one here, this is a hen of the woods. So not a chicken, but a hen. And I used to puzzle over, why were these two mushrooms, they're not that closely related. Another name for this one is maitake. But I finally found a way to keep it straight in my head. If you use your imagination, these, the little petals that make up this fungus look like the feathers on the underside of a hen's tail. Can you see that? You ever seen a big old brown hen, maybe bent over pecking in a chicken yard, in a farmyard? So hen of the woods looks like a hen's bottom. Chicken of the woods tastes like chicken. Now, hen of the woods. So this one, to me, that the texture and the texture is more like shredded chicken meat, and the flavor, again, it's a delicate flavor, but I would say it's chicken-like in a way that people, whatever, it might be alligator meat, it might be turtle, it might be frog's legs, but they say, oh yeah, it tastes like chicken. That's sort of the way this is too. It's of all the available meaty proteins to compare to, it tastes more like chicken than, say, beef or pork or fish. But this one too, it tends to grow, and there's really nothing else that looks like this one either. Tends to grow at the base of oak trees as well, and can get quite large, as do some of our local hens. So yeah, it is, with the rains that we've had, it's definitely time to get out and appreciate some of our local fun guys. All right, let's stop this. There's a couple other things here I wanted to show you. So I'm going to stop this screen share. Now this next thing, it's a video that I received from Jill, who's also on our restoration team. And all the email, in fact, I thought it was a not what do you call it, spam, not clickbait, but phishing, a phishing email. Our IT department every month is always, they test us a couple times during the month with these emails that they try to see if we're going to click on it or not. The goal is 0 clicks, and we finally achieved a 0 click month in August. So our IT guy rewarded us with gold fish and Swedish fish in honor of our phishing achievements, or anti-phishing achievements. But so this email, it came from Jill. And it said, all the email said was surprise with an exclamation point. And then I could see it had an attachment. It was sitting in my junk email. And so I wasn't sure if I should click on it or not. So I texted her and I said, did you email me something? And she said, actually, I did. So then I knew it was safe. I will also mention this. I am so wary of anything that comes in my inbox anymore. If you email me something, a lot of times if someone sends me an attachment, it does end up in my junk email. And I am so afraid to click on things. Even, if it's from a name I recognize. I just got one today from it said it was from Holly, who's our director. And I could tell it wasn't from her. by hovering over the domain that it came from. But yeah, I'm just very, very aware. But the point of that was I had gotten an email that was good for a dozen free dozen donuts from Dunkin'. And I deleted it because I thought it was one of these phishing tests, and it wasn't. It was a legitimate free dozen donuts that I missed. So anyway, focus. Let's go back. I'm going to see if I can get this video now to share. This was from Jill, and after I watched the video, I could see why all she said was surprise. So let's see if I can pull that up here. Optimize, got that one picked. All right, so let's drag this back and we'll get it to play. There we go. So this is white turtle head. Ta-da! With a bumble inside, and look at the pollen sacs on the side here. So this is a great example of why bumbles are shaped the way they are, and the specific types of jobs that they are able to do. Now, no ordinary bee might have the knowledge base of what's inside there, and two, the strength to be able to push apart the two sides of that turtle's head and get in there to where all the good stuff lies. But bumbles, that's why they've got that big bumbling body that they have, so they can muscle their way in and get the pollen. And in the process, they're pollinating the flowers so that next year we can have more turtle head. I thought that was pretty cool. Check that. So right here on this back leg here, that's where the I call them the pollen pockets, the scapularia. I have to look up the spelling of that, the specialized word, but yeah, they pack that pollen in, and it sticks, and they are able to take it back to the hive. Pretty cool, huh? You know what? Now that we're talking about this, let's go forward here. Oh no, there's fuzz on the back. I was thinking maybe this was a carpenter bee, which are also pollinators. I might have to give this another look later on. Carpenter bees too, you know what? They have that same bulky kind of body made for the same sort of a purpose. They get a bad rap because they happen to be able to chew into wood, but they are also important pollinators. Off we go. All right. I'm going to stop that screen share. Now I wanted to share some other things that came in the mail, and some things that were handed to me. One, Susie, this is from you, and it is a really neat and very helpful guide to spiders. It says spider watching at Midewin, but the spiders go a lot of other places besides Midewin. A lot of what we see, what are described in here, we can actually see around here. Midewin is the old Joliet Arsenal property that's been turned into a large expansive prairie. It's a national tall grass prairie. It's a combined effort of the USDA and the US Department of the Forest Service, yes. And great photos and wonderful descriptions of these different families of spiders. It's got a little introduction about how to watch spiders, basic spider anatomy, and why things like daddy long legs are not spiders. talks about their ecological role. I'd like to, if they included a paragraph on spider bites and how just about all spiders have venom, but most spiders, their fangs are not large enough or powerful enough to penetrate human skin. I was just at an event the other day, and when this woman, found out that I worked at a nature center, she said, "Oh, then you must know about spiders." And she showed me this thing on her neck, and she goes, "I got bit by a spider the other day." And I said, "Well, how do you know it's a spider?" And she said, "Well, I don't. I just think it, everybody gets spider bites." And no, everybody doesn't get spider bites. There's just not that many spiders that can bite. But it's a very prevalent attitude. Anyway, this booklet explains, like so many other spider experts say, spider bites are not as common as you might think. But it's got orb weavers, it's got long-jawed orb weavers and the garden spiders. It's got whole spread on jumping spiders, the teddy bears of the spider world. It's just really cool. If you'd like to have me scan a copy for you, I'd be glad to. It might be available online. And of course, if you visit Midewin, you can pick it up there as well. So thanks, Susie. I've been enjoying this, and I've kept it in my spider file. Next, I get a email from a gentleman who lives out in Spring Grove. Shaw Media, they send their newspapers all different kinds of places, and he had emailed me for my address. He said he saw something I thought I would enjoy. He thought I would enjoy. It's from the Wall Street Journal, and it's this really cool article about wasps and basically in defense of them. And if you'd like to see it, it ran in the Saturday, Sunday, July 16th to 17th edition of the Wall Street Journal. But there was one figure in here. He talks about, how wasps have this bad rap and how people are always complaining about them, calling them bad names and everything. But then he goes on to make the case for all the really helpful things that they do. And he says, I've calculated that on average, a yellow jacket colony consumes around 9.5 pounds of prey in a season. That's around 90,000 individual arthropods. He's talking about how they really help, control parts of our other parts of our insect world. They particularly like to focus on caterpillars and wasps. So he says that colonies of social wasps who live together like bees catch and kill prey and transport it to their nests to feed the developing brood, which are the wasp larvae. Yellow jackets are generalist hunters, creaming off any invertebrates that are locally abundant. This makes them important regulators of insect populations. By experimentally removing wasp nests, biologist Aaron Wilson Rankin found last year that wasps were responsible for reducing spider populations by 36% and caterpillars by 86%. Maybe you like caterpillars. After all, they turn into butterflies. But caterpillars are crop pests. For a subsistence farmer in a developing country, the loss of a crop of maize to caterpillars means her family goes hungry. While pollinating insects are worth an estimated $250 billion a year in global agriculture, biocontrol by insects, including wasps, is valued at $450 billion. So kind of a cool take on wasps. I like to pull for the underdogs, and wasps, they wouldn't be here if they didn't have an important job to do. I appreciate him sending that article. And then John and Bobby, you had sent me an article that now there's a person I need to meet, a fellow Shaw Media contributor. This column here ran in the it looks like the DeKalb Daily Chronicle, and this person is a spider hater, an arachnophobe. And she talks about how she's, haunted by them, and she can't seem to avoid, being around them. There's one that seems to be stalking her around her mailbox, and she wipes the webs down and they keep coming back. Well, John, Bobby, bless your heart, you say that you might have to invite her to attend a Good Natured Hour program. I wish you would, because just like wasps, spiders, they have an important job to do too. Folks, that's about it for this week. Frankly, I'm glad to see that this all worked as smoothly as it did. I had left my backpack open on the kitchen floor, which I promised myself the last time this happened. I said, I'm never going to do this again. Well, my puppy got a hold of it. You remember tech support puppy? He was not so supportive this week. He actually got a hold of the box that I keep the webcam in, and I wish you could see this thing. It's got tooth marks on the top of it, but it seems like it's working okay. So anyway, glad it worked, at least for this hour, that we were able to share some things. Bob just commented that he saw the first Junco of fall. So just like everybody always likes to say, the robin is the first sign of spring, which is debatable, but Juncos, you won't get any argument from me. They are a sign of fall. So they're coming down. There's a few species that we're going to start to see as we move on into winter. The Junco is certainly one of the more recognizable ones. They've got the males. Well, they're called slate colored Juncos. The males have the darker gray backs. The females are sometimes a little bit more brown, pink little feet. That's great, Bob. I also have to start looking for them. I didn't realize it was that time, but here we are. It's almost October. Another bird to keep your eye on out for a little bit later on is the American tree sparrow. There's some people saying they're seeing red-breasted nuthatches too. That one, when we see red-breasted nuthatches in great numbers, it signals that that there's a shortage of food for them up north. They're a bird that does tend to stay up north year round, but they'll come down here in cases, they call it eruptions with an I. In cases of food shortages up north, the whole population will move around until they find some food. But there's a fair number that I've heard about that are actually staying down here, even nesting in people's yards that have a lot of conifers. But all right, the Juncos. Now, that makes me, I don't think I've plugged this recently. It's a couple of years old now, and I think the whole series is on YouTube. It's called, give me a second here, I'll look it up. The Ordinary Extraordinary Junco. They've got a Facebook page, and there is a website, juncoproject.org. But it's through the University of Indiana, and they have talked about how, there's a lot of diversity even within there's lots and lots of different kinds across the country. And it's a continually evolving group. They seem to adapt and evolve quickly, faster than a lot of other species. And this movie came out a few years ago. You can watch it all at once, or you can watch it in segments. But yeah, if you go to juncoproject.org, you can learn a little bit more about it. And I always want to call it the Incredible Edible Junco, but I have to remember that it's the ordinary extraordinary Junco. All right. And let's see, Kay says, Midewin, there's tons of info. Oh, on their website too. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, the Midewin, I'm glad you mentioned that, Kay. Midewin is also home to, just as they've done out at Nachusa Grasslands out towards Oregon, Midewin has a bison herd now too. So, for years, restoration ecology, it is still a very, very new subject field. And the reintroduction of fire was established as a way of bringing back some of these native ecosystems. And now the importance of large grazing herbivores has been established. And so Midewin and Nachusa are two semi-local bison herds. Again, I forget if I mentioned Midewin is down a little bit south of Morris. So not too terribly far away. Some cool stuff down there. So yeah, check out their website, Midewin Tallgrass Prairie. Do you know if it's okay to feed the birds during fall migration? You know what, Laura? I don't. There was talk, I would say a month ago, of bird flu still being in the area. And I did have that not so great looking house finch at my bird bath. And it wasn't the conjunctivitis type of sickness. It was just, I don't know, it was looking bedraggled and just kind of slumped over. And I actually checked on the ground beneath the bird bath to see if it had just, fallen off. And it did. And it did apparently fly away, but I don't know. I haven't heard. And I don't know if anybody else has heard, but I don't know that bird flu is completely off the radar. But yeah, if anybody hears something on that, I'd appreciate knowing about it, as would all of you. Anybody else? If not, appreciate you all spending some time together, talking about all the good nature we have around us, and learning about what's coming at us that will foretell the next season that's on the way. Bob, again, thanks again for the Junco heads up. Thanks again, everybody else. Appreciate your time, and see you next week.
Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Pam.
Bye, Pam.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pam.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Pam.